Hi there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Question Pro's Fireside Chats. And it is my huge pleasure to be joined by my friend and ex-colleague, Lucas Bergmans, who led the marketing function at Kazoo when I was there, overseeing some amazing growth. And I think in his career has managed over 16 different brands in 11 different categories. So, marketing expertise written all over Lucas here. So I think it's going to be a good conversation today. Lucas, do you want to just say hi, introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Yes, Lucas. I'm working in marketing. Is this where I give a bit of a spiel on my career?
You certainly can do. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, like I say, I've kind of, as Nick mentioned, I've worked in lots of different kind of categories and different kind of brands and business models. First half of my career in FMCG, food and drink, so brands like Pepsi and Heineken and Old El Paso. And I think what's interesting about that from a CX point of view is, a lot of those products, you don't really control the kind of pointy end of the customer experience. You sell in your product to various retailers. And hope they treat their customers well when they're kind of handling your product, whether it's a pint of beer or a bottle of pop or what have you. And then about 10 years ago, I moved more into digital brands where you do have much more kind of direct contact with the customer and a lot more data. So I had a couple of years at Money Supermarket and a couple of years at Aviva. And in those you have much more contact with the customers. In the case of a price comparison site like Money Supermarket, it is quite transactional and quite fleeting. You're just introducing them to, for example, someone who's going to sell them car insurance. At Aviva, you have much more kind of a direct experience with customers. But then typically those products are a lot more expensive. So you're talking about 250 quid on average for car insurance. If it's a pension, it's a much bigger amount of money involved. Yes. Maybe not. And then also, I guess, crucially, from a customer experience point of view, when you're an insurance company, often customers are, yes, they're coming to you to ask about price or make changes to the policy, but often they're coming to you to make a claim, or they're in a kind of moment of real distress if they've had an accident, or if you think about something like life insurance, they've actually kind of lost a close member of their family. So that kind of the kind of importance of having a really good, solid customer experience in the context of an insurance company is a whole nother level again to what I experienced in other businesses. Most recently, Kazoo, where me and Nick worked, we were kind of really obsessed with delivering an outstanding customer experience. We were really the first business to be selling used cars completely online. And you're working in a sector which people don't really trust, famously used car salesmen, for good and bad reasons. It's a really expensive outlay. You're talking on average about £15,000. It's a used complex piece of metal, and it's, if it's kind of delivered well and it's a good nick, you'll use it every day, and it's got a really good critical role to play in your life. So a lot of things to get right, and we, as an online dealer that were doing this for the first time, really had to massively over deliver on the customer experience to kind of build trust, build word of mouth, and make people comfortable with buying a really expensive used car on a website from a business you've never heard of before. So delivering an outstanding customer experience and constantly improving it as we went along was really critical to the success that we saw.
Cool. Thanks, Lucas. I mean, I love your career path. I think the experience in so many different sectors and industries is fascinating. And there's a couple of things you said there that jump out at me. I've been doing a lot of work on customer journey mapping recently, and lots of conversations about sort of touch points that brands control and don't control. Yeah. And then the other thing that, with the Kazoo example, you're buying a used car for 15 grand, trust. Yeah. And how you establish trust is huge. So I think a couple of those themes might well come up again in the meat of the conversation, but I'll just do a quick little bit on what these fireside chats with Question Pro are all about. So generally, we hope to have informal discussions with clients, partners, subject matter experts to share ideas, thoughts, experiences, challenges, and best practices in research, insights, and customer experience. We are live usually each week for 30 minutes or so on my LinkedIn, Question Pro's YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook channels. And guys, if there are any questions from those watching, please do post them and we'll get onto those. So I guess probably time to jump into the meat of the conversation. And I think that where I wanted to start was, I reflect after a career in CX that there are so many different interpretations in different businesses of what CX is, who owns it, does it sit in marketing, does it sit in operations? And I guess, from the horse's mouth as a marketeer, what's your take on CX?
It's interesting because I think I probably didn't really get as close to it until I joined Kazoo, and that was very deliberately part of the same department. We were all kind of in the same department and we all reported into Darren, the Chief Customer Officer, and worked really, really closely. So that was probably my best example of working in a business as a real big focus on CX and a real kind of close working relationship with marketing as a function. And I think for me that certainly, I guess it varies by different kind of products and different kind of businesses, but certainly within Kazoo, that was kind of really critical that those two functions sat together and worked together, because the impact of the customer experience end to end has a massive influence in that example on the perception of the brand, either of people that are going through the process of buying a car and having it delivered and kind of ironing out any issues that might crop up or any questions that they might have as they're going through the process, and then also how they talk to their friends and family about their experience, which they inevitably will do, what that does to your broader reputation for people that are not yet customers. So delivering an outstanding customer experience was really critical, but also we had so much to learn about how to optimize this customer experience. No one had ever done it before. Even if you're in a business that is more established, you learn so much from the customers that are going through that experience, good and bad. Usually they'll kind of be very vocal about the stuff they don't like, and you can learn a huge amount from that in terms of how you can constantly improve and optimize your journey, fix issues that are for a specific individual customer, or some things that are more fundamental that actually might crop up for other customers as well. So I think it's a fascinating area.
So I think hearing that, I'm sort of taking that from your experience, it doesn't really matter where customer experience sits, but both marketing and customer experience are so interlinked and important elements that you need to be connected. You need to sort of break down those silos. You can't just do your thinking, how do we attract people into our brand, without knowing how they react to stuff, how they feel about stuff when they are bought into that brand, because it is all just part of the same sort of element of how customers think about you.
Exactly. And also as a marketing function, you're constantly looking at how your proposition should evolve, or whether you need to make adjustments, even from a commercial point of view, to kind of improve profitability. And you really need to understand, as you make those changes, what are the impacts on the customer experience. If you're deciding to launch a new product, does that impact customers negatively, positively? What is the kind of live feedback that you get? And you can only really, or you get the best kind of intelligence from customer experience, directly from customers who are experiencing your product every day. So that is just a really vital source of insight.
So I think my next question was going to be, in a marketing role, what do you look for from a customer experience team? And I think you've sort of touched on that a little bit. It's probably that insight. It's that deeper understanding of what customers think. It's, are we dealing with problems efficiently, politely, building trust, upholding brand expectations. And I think, I look at, what we do at Question Pro, and it is that sort of voice of the customer, but making it relevant for your stakeholders within your business. So, I guess as a marketeer, what is it that that you like to know about your customers?
Yeah, man, it's definitely that as a source of insight. Often, the core part of the function is often called the voice of the customer, right? You are the eyes and ears as a CX team, the eyes and ears on the ground that are talking to customers every day. So really critical to get a live feed of what the issues are that are coming out. But also, you kind of want to be sure that your CX function is really looking after customers, even if there's not an issue or feedback to come back. You want to be sure that you're bringing in a load of customers through, particularly if it's very much a service kind of led business, like which Kazoo basically was. Are they treating your customers as they should be expected? I think I'm working with a business at the moment to talk about treating their customers like a member of the family. Like, you want to be sure that your teams are dealing with issues efficiently, politely, in a friendly way that people will value when they interact with your business. So there's that element of it. But then the other point, like you said before, it's a really valuable source of insight. So we would sit down with your team, Nick, at Kazoo, pretty much every week and kind of look at the trends, the stats of where we're kind of seeing issues that need to be fixed, how they're kind of being improved over time and ironed out any kind of kinks in the process. And actually not just working with marketing, working with the whole operations team in terms of how do we identify the root cause of any issues and kind of fix our processes and operational point of view to prevent those happening in future. So yeah, all those kind of sources of insight being fed through really on a weekly basis and actioned.
And I think that's a really good pointer for customer experience people out there about the need to be connected with other parts of your organization. Obviously, we're focusing on marketing here as an example, but what I took from what you've just said, I think back maybe to earlier in my career, I was getting insight. I was checking whether we were looking after our customers and giving them stuff that they wanted. But it never really crossed my mind that the guys that were producing the shiny videos, the wonderful out-of-home advertising, might even care about that or, want to know about that. And I think, this point you're making really illustrates that customer experience is all encompassing.
Yeah.
And, there will be an angle on it for everyone in the organization. And as a CX practitioner, it's your job to understand what that angle is and then be able to package up your insights or, the work you're doing to improve things so it really fits what these other departments need.
100%. And it's just as a build on that, I think a lot of the time marketers will be looking at lots of other sources of insight, and particularly if it's a new product that's not launched yet, right? So you'll gather insights from surveys or call groups or what have you before it's live. And the temptation is to launch a product, launch a campaign, and just kind of leave it and move on to the next thing. But actually, really, that's just the start of the journey, and you really have an opportunity to optimize everything that you're doing. And one of the best ways to do that is to listen to your customers. And it's your CX team that listening to your customers can feedback, and then you can action things and improve them as you go along, rather than just, set and forget, which is often what happens.
And that's what you just said there, really interesting in terms of, couple of angles that we take as an organization. We have market research suite of products, customer experience suite of products, and indeed employee experience suite of products as well. But it's that customer experience market research sort of point that I just wanted to drill into a little bit more. So you kind of said, we might do some qual stuff, we might do some survey stuff. That sounds like market research, but you're kind of pitching it as actually it's all part of the customer experience, understanding how people feel before they've even joined, linking that to how they feel when they have joined. You could almost argue it's all the same thing.
Yeah, look, it's definitely a really key form of market research. It's not the only one, but it's kind of a key part of the jigsaw, right? So a lot of research you'll do up front is customers telling you what they claim to do or think they'll do, but actually it's kind of often theoretical, or customers don't often really tell you what they do, and actually don't know what their behavior is going to be like until they actually interact with the products and interact with you as a business. So that CX feedback and that element of it is that much more real and tangible, and you can really understand how people are actually using your products rather than what they claim to do. I guess the slight watch out sometimes is that you aren't skewed too much by, if you're using your customer service teams, for example, as a source of insight, that you're kind of likely to kind of skew towards
negative,
issues and problems, and people aren't calling you up to tell you how great you are. So you need to kind of use it in the context of other forms of data and other sources of insight. But it's a really critical one because it's live, and it's constant, and it's direct to your customers, your actual customers. So yeah, it's a really key part of the mix.
And I guess I've spoken about journey mapping a bit in this session as well. I guess for me, I often start that with awareness or consideration, and that's coming into your world quite a lot, and those thoughts on, how are they viewing us? But the ability to see that end to end with then, does that play through? Are those expectations met? Becomes really valuable as well, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. And we always kind of do it as a nice long linear line as well.
But it's not.
And actually that first kind of interaction with the brand, where the awareness and consideration might come from another customer who's experienced interacting with your business. So that reputation comes from other people that have been through the entire journey. So it's not fully linear, but yeah, it's useful to kind of map it out that way so you can really understand how you can improve it as you go along. But yeah, really important that you kind of constantly kind of reviewing it as a whole journey and a whole experience, and improving it, and learning about it as you go along.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. And I've often felt CX people come up from operational roles and don't understand the marketing side. And I certainly tick that box. I was a customer service advisor, very tuned into customers when they are customers. And I'm hearing that the more these teams can work together, just the better it is for that overall picture.
Yeah, I think so, because I think there is, the kind of KPIs that you'll be focused on as a kind of operational customer service person will be, abandonment rates. There'll be kind of call times and actually efficiency a lot of the time. But you need to balance that out with making sure that you are actually looking after customers as well. But also, I think kind of marketing them coming in and interacting and engaging with that whole team, we'll look at it with a slightly different angle, with a different perspective. We'll be able to kind of link it together with other sources of insight that they'll have. And I think that combination is great. It's a kind of diverse set of perspectives, right? So they can challenge each other, and they can ask questions, and kind of use those different perspectives to kind of come up with new ideas.
And new ideas. So current innovations or trends that are exciting you at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, clearly there's a lot of conversations around AI, and you and I know that that's not a new thing. Chatbots and everything have been around for a while, and it's really kind of Gen AI and ChatGPT that have kind of really exploded people's interest in that area. And I think there are okay versions of that. I think my personal interaction with them are generally, they're not great. They could be great. I think most customers appreciate that there are simple requests and issues that they've got that can be resolved by a bot, and you don't have to sit on the phone and wait for someone and have a long conversation for a simple generic problem that you've got. The problem is, I think a lot of the time those kind of journeys, those chatbot journeys just don't work well enough, when there's kind of no good reason why they wouldn't. And the kind of bigger problem for me is when you've got a specific issue to do. But recently for me with my tax returns, trying to get out, can't actually get hold of someone on the phone, and you get you're sitting around in circles with a chatbot. So that doesn't excite me, I've got to say, but I'm sure it can improve over time. I think where I do really like, wouldn't say necessarily an innovation, but I think there are more and more businesses that really do invest and really do see the benefit of kind of delivering an outstanding customer experience, whether that's delivered through kind of technology or delivered through people. But their kind of first port of call is the kind of great customer experience is their kind of core focus, and that's the KPI they lead on. An example I'm slightly obsessed with is Spoke, which is a kind of broadly aimed at blokes, and they sell generally kind of custom-made trousers. So, and they're kind of pricey, but you kind of when you first buy a pair of trousers from Spoke, you get to kind of send them back as many times as you want until you get the right fit. And once you've got the right fit, then you kind of you can just keep coming back, and you can be sure that every pair of trousers you get fits, which is great.
You're not eating too many cakes in it.
Yeah, exactly. You might have to up the size points. But what's great with those guys, I've had a couple of instances where actually pair of trousers kind of fell apart way sooner than they should have done. They literally sent me a new pair without any questions the next day, and just kind of went over and above to deliver against and maintain a really good reputation by having an amazing customer experience. And I think you do see that often with kind of smaller startups where they really overinvest in that, whereas kind of with a more established, broader, bigger corporate business in the same sector, they're more likely to have got a bit complacent. So just where you've got challengers coming into different sectors, my latest kind of broadband provider is way better than who I had before, because they're kind of smaller, more agile, and they do really kind of see the value in over delivering on customer experience.
I think that's fascinating. It's sort of, and I've experienced it too. You end up in big corporate environments doing CX where potentially there's an acknowledgement that things could be better, but there's also a perception that it is okay. So you really have to sell in the value of what you want to change.
100%.
I think really interesting to hear from, a marketeer that actually there is real legs in being able to say, we have excellent service, the overall experience is phenomenal, and that becomes part of your key selling point as well. So you kind of get in this cycle of, we want to talk about this as something that's great.
Yeah.
Therefore, you guys need to be demonstrating perpetually that it is great and it's getting better, and it becomes then a sort of a cycle of one feeding the other and being reliant on each other. And I think it's right. It's not necessarily an innovation, but it's an attitude change that is really exciting.
Yeah, but there's also these hard commercial benefits to that, right? So you're inevitably in a competitive sector of some description. And if you don't look after your customers, someone else will pinch them off you. So, and if you get it right, you'll kind of engender loyalty and repeat purchase. So there's kind of, it feels good to deliver a great experience, but there's kind of good, hard, solid commercial benefits to treating your customers well.
Yeah, and I often say in CX that finance are your friends, right? Because they help you build that picture of where those commercial benefits come from. But it feels like marketing are your friends as well, because you're going to maybe bring a different angle to the commercial benefits that I am, and work together with finance as well, and you're kind of selling that in.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, typically the kind of marketing team and the marketing leaders are the customer champions within a business. I mean, ideally everyone's a customer champion, but typically it tends to be, certainly the most senior level, that it's the marketing team that are really kind of banging that drum. And so yeah, that definitely is something that would benefit a CX team as well.
And then I just started touching on the AI thought as well, because it is everywhere, isn't it? And I agree with you that you can have sort of very irritating chatbots or things like that. I actually think, for me in customer experience, the best use case for AI is helping you crunch through tons of data really quickly that before would have taken you sort of 6 months to distill everything down in a report that it could give back to you. And I think talk about AI and human, and for me it's that back to we used to sit together once a week and talk about things. You can now talk about it with real data in front of you, stuff quantified, right down to sentiment, emotion, things like that. And I imagine that you probably have the same view that its ability to unlock better conversations between departments is almost one of the key benefits of what AI is doing for us in the customer experience space at the minute.
100%. But I'd add to that as well. I think for example, customer service agents who are talking directly to customers on the phone, they need to access data, whether it's personal records or what have you, or someone's individual case. And I think AI can play a role there, right, in terms of being able to access the right information, get the right answers to questions, and doing it quickly. That's not necessarily interfacing directly with a customer, but it's really helping a customer service agent get the information they need quickly and accurately. And I think that can be a really interesting unlock, because they can service their customers better and more quickly by using AI. But you're still kind of delivering it through a human, if you know what I mean. So I think that's super interesting as well.
Cool. I think that's been a fascinating dance around the sort of interactions between customer experience and marketing teams. Thank you so much, Lucas. I think what I'm taking from it is other departments maybe are more interested in the experience you are trying to drive than you might necessarily think. Really looking after your customers has huge commercial upside, and being able to talk about it is a marketeer's not dream, but a good thing for them to be able to do. And human breaking down silos, relationships with an organization are so important to doing that.
100%. Definitely agree with all that.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I think we'll bring that to a close for today. Thanks again, Lucas, and what a great session. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Nick.